Welcome to Powerhouse. Joining us today is Rebecca Brosnan, founder of Halo Planner and board director. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Joyce. I'm so happy to be here.
So happy to have you. We've known each other for a while, and it's always nice to touch base. And you've got some great projects going on in the past few years. So definitely want to get to those things and discuss more with you. Before that, if you can tell us a bit about your background and your corporate experience.
Sure. So I'm from Boston originally. I studied economics and Chinese language. And then I moved to Hong Kong in 2004, was working in financial services at Merrill Lynch investment banking. And then after I did my master's degree, I went to work at the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, where I ran corporate strategy, which include market development, business development, and mergers and acquisitions. And then when I got pregnant with my first child, I didn't want to work 100 hours a week anymore. And I went to work at Mother's Choice, which is a leading charity in Hong Kong. And I served as the COO and CFO. And then after 6 years, I left and became the CFO of an ESG technology company. And then I left and started the Halo Planner. So I've had a broad range of corporate experiences, big listed company, small startup, NGO, all sort of with a financial services finance lens, but, pretty broad reaching responsibilities.
Yeah, that is amazing. And actually, it's amazing that you have, as you said, like the financial background and skills, but in a very broad and diverse industries, which, I usually don't think about how well it applies to different things, but everyone needs a finance group and finance planning and strategy. So that makes sense. And congrats on launching Halo earlier this year in 2025. Maybe you can mention a bit about how you came up with the idea and why you started a product.
So I've always been interested in time management. And, as you can imagine, as I list my different roles in my career, always looking for a way to be more efficient, to do more, to be productive. And the more senior I got, the more my role was to help other people achieve their goals. So, you're managing a small team first, and then you're managing a department, and then you're managing a division, and then you're managing a whole organization. And I found that one of my best value adds was to see all the different moving parts, and this person's working on this and this person's working on this. And I could see the rhythm and I could help them achieve their goals. Mm-hmm. And a lot of that knowledge was about how to do work. So processes. So do this first, then this, then this. Oh, you're running into this obstacle. You're having this challenge. Okay, let's tweak it and change this. And I found that even in my board career, I would meet with CEOs or board chairmen, really senior people. And I found that my best skill set was telling them how to approach a problem. And it's always been part of my interest, even though it wasn't part of my day job. I mean, a little bit as COO, you're kind of doing goal setting and achievement for an organization. But Halo's my first entry into really helping a consumer, like an individual person with this. Mm-hmm. In 2018, I bought a paper planner. And in that year, I got more done than like in all the years combined, because every day I had a piece of paper that told me what I wanted to do. And I've always been pretty clear about work objectives, but particularly for my personal life, when you're working big corporate jobs, your personal goals tend to always come second. And part of that was just remembering what you wanted to do and being accountable to yourself. So I started experimenting with different types of planners. I bought a bunch of different ones. I started researching them. And then what I found was there were several features or ways I like to plan, and there was no one book that had all of them. And so I started thinking, maybe I should design my own, really for my own personal use, because it was such an essential tool for me to getting all my stuff done. And then my husband bought me a gift certificate for a graphic designer to design my own, for a Mother's Day present. And the rest is history. I designed Halo for myself. And then I used a pilot for a year. So in 2024, I had a small group of 20 people all using Halo. Before I ever launched it commercially, I looked at the design features, I looked at the layouts, I got feedback. And then in August 2024, the pre-sales for Halo 2025 started and I launched the business.
So amazing. Thank you for stepping through that. Actually, there's so much going on in between. So many questions. But let me first ask, what are the key factors, right? So you went through obviously what works best for yourself, and you have a pilot group, which is a great idea. So you have the 20 just to kind of work it out and see what works for other people as well. Through that process, what are the key factors you think is the best that contributed to the design?
There's two elements to design. There's the physical book, like how it works. And then there's the layouts, like what the pages look like. So for the physical design, it had to be practical. So, I mean, in Hong Kong, we're traveling all the time, we're running around. It had to be durable. So it couldn't like get scratched easily, or if you put your coffee cup on it, it couldn't ruin it. But it also had to look really professional because, you know, you pull a notebook out on a boardroom table, it had to look really good. It had to be functional and like comfortable. So if you have a halo, you can see that it's like very bendy.
Yeah.
And it had to lay perfectly flat on a desk. So in planner worlds, there's a lot of planners that claim to lay flat, but actually you have to kind of push the spine down and the pages come over and it's like infuriating.
Yeah,
and
I hate those.
distracting. Yeah, it's really horrible. So when I first started designing the pilot, I told the printer, if you can't make it lay perfectly flat, we're not going to do this project. I mean, it was just absolutely essential. And the next thing is that it had to be as light as possible. So the listeners who know my story know that I had a really bad period of time with my back. So I'm always thinking about the weight of what I carry, whether it's luggage or handbags. Like it has to be as light as possible to still be functional. And so that means the paper in Halo had to be thin enough, but then the paper also had to be thick enough that if you're writing in a pen, it doesn't bleed through. So really trying to find the balance between as light as possible without losing design. But it also meant what went inside the book had to have very little repetition, because the moment you're writing something twice, that's an extra page. And so every page adds weight. And then the inside design. So the first thing is this is a quarterly planner. So even though it looks kind of like a, you know, standard book size, it's 270 something pages, but it's only for 3 months. And that's because it has 2 pages for every day, plus weekly layouts, monthly layouts, and quarterly pages. The first premise was that it's a quarterly planner, which some people only want a month at a glance, or some people, you know, want the whole year in one book, but this is 3 months. And then it's grid based. So the printing is like graph paper. So some people think they want lines. They're wrong. Once you go grid, you never go back. I have one friend who says, oh, my handwriting's too big, but then you can just take 2 grid lines. So you can totally adjust how big your handwriting is, like by how many lines you take up. And then you can also create boxes. You can do sketches. You can like make different lists. You can create check boxes. So it's graph based. So you have to like graph, but you know, once you go grid, you never go back.
I like that quote.
Some other things, like I had to have a 24-hour calendar. So one of the planners I was using for a while started the day at 9 a.m. I mean, as we've discussed, I get up at very early before 5. And so half my day is done by 9 a.m. And in Hong Kong, we have a lot of late nights. We do, you know, evening calls to cover different time zones. So one of the premises is it had to have a 24-hour calendar. And yeah, there's a bunch of other features that I've designed for the way my life and I think my friends and colleagues' lives work. You know, there's, for example, I designed a brain dump, which is, you know, the catch-all to-do list of all the things you can think of to do to get it out of your head and onto paper where you can manage it. And there's a bunch of journaling prompts, not too journaly. So I would not call the Halo Planner a journal, but it does give you time to reflect kind of on a weekly and monthly basis on what's working and what's not, so that you can say, as we were just talking before the call, okay, well, I've had this routine, or I've been getting up at this time or going to bed at this time, you know, for this long, but actually it's not really working for me anymore. So you need those like built-in checkpoints to reflect.
That's great. So really help organize one's life, right? Without having to kind of go to different lists.
One book to rule them all. And it's, I'll tell you, it is so freeing to have only one place, which is your, you know, main source of truth.
Right.
And The other most important thing, and this is about planning in general, is that all our digital tools are sort of organized where the most recent thing is on top. So if you go to your WhatsApp, it's like the message that came in last. You go to your email, it's the message that came in last. That doesn't mean that's the most important thing that you need to manage. And so having a paper planner allows you to put the most important things, the most critical things, the things that have to be done on this day at a visually prominent location. And that's how the brain works, right? I mean, part of the reason the phones are so distracting and so addictive is because it distracts your brain from looking at, the thing you want to all the other things going on. And so a paper planner sort of cuts out that loop.
Right. Part of the focus group, like, are there certain features you feel like was really resonated with the whole group, or are there additional features that the group brought up that you thought, oh, that would be a good tweak to the planner?
Yeah, I added a bunch of pages based on feedback. So the first is there is now a traditional monthly calendar, sort of like, a 30-day calendar. There wasn't in the first version because I didn't tend to use it. I like the weekly layout better, but people really needed it. I think the other thing is, even though it's a quarterly book, people wanted to see the full year. So I added a page with kind of I did a rolling 12 months. So if it's the first quarter planner, it would start in January. But if it's a second quarter planner, it would start in April and then the next 12 months.
Oh, nice.
So you can kind of see dates. There's not a lot of room, but you can put in like when school ends or when your trip is, etc. And based on my own using, I changed like the spacing or layout. For some people, I added a recommendations page. So if you're at a party and someone's like, oh, you should really watch this Netflix series, there's a place to put that.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, the pilot group gave me a ton of feedback. And of course, for any new business, one of the best pieces of feedback was that they found it really helpful. And having that confirmation before I launched to a wider group was really helpful.
Right, for sure. Makes sense. Well, I guess with a product, it's hard to think, well, this is something I wanted to have, but is it something that, like a lot of people would be interested, and if they are, what else should be going in it? So the focus group definitely is a great idea. Throughout the whole process from concept to completion, right, to market, let's say, what is the most challenging thing?
So I think my mindset, the fear of failure, the fear of embarrassment, like being afraid to ask for help or advice. I mean, I still struggle with that. I think we've all heard, like if you listen to podcasts or read books, we've all heard about the entrepreneurial journey, and we've heard stories about imposter syndrome, and all of us have probably faced imposter syndrome a little bit in our corporate roles. I just was not really prepared for the level of kind of doubt, fear, anxiety in launching this business. So like we talked about at the beginning, I've had a lot of different corporate experiences and I'm pretty adaptable. But when you make something that's yours, that you say, hey, I really like this, you guys should like it too, it's very different than representing a big listed company with an established business that works. Like even just asking people to try it, or even talking about the fact that I had the business in the beginning was difficult.
Right.
And you have to believe in yourself and the product in almost an irrational degree. I'm in finance and strategy, so part of my role is to see problems with things. And, it's just very difficult to push through, even though most startups fail, most products don't work. I just wasn't prepared for the level of all that emotion in starting my own business. I'm a pretty confident person, but it was next level. So it totally changed the way I think about people who start businesses, but it's also helped me grow. And I learned a lot about myself, and I learned a lot about business. Everything I'm doing it for the first time. I've never done it. And I have no team. It's just me. So whether it's the website or the back end e-commerce or, hearing my own voice on Instagram. I mean, that was really difficult at first. People wanted videos and tutorials about how to use the planner. I mean, just to film those and put them out there into the world was very challenging for me at first. But now those things feel easy, right? We're 6 months into Halo, people using Halo, and I feel like I've turned a corner. But I think whatever the next challenge will be, it will be another corner to turn. Right. So I think you keep pushing through one level of discomfort, and then things will go along well, and then you'll hit another level. But it's the mindset difference of doing your own thing versus doing something that is, someone else's and established and with a team, just really different.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. Starting a business, doesn't matter what it is. It's just that leap of faith in yourself.
I mean, you must have felt that with your book, right? I mean, you're like, you do this, you think it's beautiful, you spend a huge amount of time, you make it perfect, but then you have to go out there and ask everyone else, hey, this is a really good thing.
Yeah.
And it's a different experience, right? I mean,
Yes,
how did
for
you?
sure. And yeah, I launched the book at a similar time. It was November 2024, but started shipping it out and it's pretty much 2025. And just what you said in terms of, of course, I have all the photos. We curate it. It's beautiful to me. I
That's
love it.
beautiful. I have my copy.
Thank you. Yeah, no, so I put all the greatest photos over the years. I curated over the 10, 15 years that I shot. And a lot of them are more recent. But just as you said, it's like, I hope people love it. And even if that's the case, like, you feel good, like close friends like it and generally went to fair and book signing. And, you do have people coming up and say, oh, I love it. But still, you're like wondering, well, okay, where's it going to go and how I'm going to market it more? And the practical stuff, right? The distribution and how much further it should or can go. So those are always the kind of the unknown. Yeah, it is a journey.
Yeah, it's a challenge. I mean, hats off to anybody doing their own business. And you also have to realize how much this teaches you that nothing else can teach you. This type of independence and kind of scrappiness. And, I think one of the things that I hear from authors, and I don't know if this was in your journey, but the publishing companies sort of expect you to do your own marketing. So you're kind of selling your book. I think it used to be that publishing houses would be selling, but now the authors have to be selling. And I think the constant selling, even though I like sales because I feel like it's, finding solutions for other people. And of course, I believe in the product and I've seen the difference it makes in people's lives, the constant need to sell and sell and sell and sell. That's totally new for me.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it's hard because you don't want to sound so salesy, obviously. And you have to find different angles. You want to keep repeating. Yeah.
People need it. It's so interesting. I've talked to a bunch of entrepreneurs and I will get emails from people being like, oh my gosh, Halo Planner is exactly what I need. I really want it. I've heard so many good things from other people. I'm going to buy one right now. And then they don't. Yeah. And so you say, okay, well, this person has a problem that they believe Halo can solve. I believe Halo can solve that problem, but then they don't press buy. So do you email them again or do you not? Do you let it go? Like, I think you just have to do it. It's like baptism by fire. You just have to jump in and figure it out and know that you're going to get it wrong sometimes. And, you're not going to send the email when you should have, or you're going to send the email when you shouldn't have. And, just being okay with the fact that you're just trying to be helpful. You're trying to find a solution for somebody who needs one. And, you do it in good faith and you hope that, you make more of a difference than a detriment.
Oh, for sure. And similarly on social media, you think you put a lot of posts, but there are people say, I haven't seen it. So, which is true because, algorithm or gets buried down further, if they didn't see it for a few days. So it's okay to repeat some stuff, right? In different ways, but you talk about it so that people don't forget about it. I think that's okay.
Yeah. I have so many friends who are running, like maybe they're a gym owner or trainer. And they're amazing trainers and they know the difference they make in people's lives and they struggle to market because it's not their specialty, right? And that's not what they want to do. They want to spend their time training people and, or even coaches, like they can see the difference that they have in their clients' lives, but, it's hard to constantly be selling. Any independent business person, any, entrepreneur, sales is a huge part of the role.
So true. Just being able to balance all of it to make it the best experience for everyone.
Yeah. I read this great book called Story Brand. The premise is that the customer is the hero of your business. And that really resonated with me because Halo is really about empowering people to live the lives that they want. And so when you make the customer the hero, not Halo Planner or me, the hero, the customer's the hero, then this becomes a tool that helps them live the life that they want to live.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. I mean, I guess when you talk to people, I'm sure this comes up as well. I guess my question is, do you feel like it's marketing to people who are more used to planners and paper-based, or do you feel quite confident that it will convert a lot of the digital users, right? There's different tools to help different things, but maybe not necessarily in one place. So Halo Planner definitely does that. How do you address that when people bring that up?
In the 10,000 people I've spoken to about their schedules and their organization and their goal setting, I have met 2 that have real digital systems. I mean, the one thing that I hear from everybody is they feel so overwhelmed. They're so busy. There's too much to do. They wake up on the back foot and they can barely get it all done. They forget this thing. They're late for this thing. And people just feel totally overwhelmed. It's partially from a great thing, which is we have so many exciting opportunities. I mean, there's work, there's friends, there's family, there's adventure, there's travel. I mean, we have so much going on, but very few people realize they need a system to deal with that. And so there is not a huge planning culture in Hong Kong. You know, the biggest market for planners is the US. And I do have a lot of clients in the US who maybe used a different planner and heard about Halo and have started using Halo in that place. There's also a very large planner market in Japan. A lot of the really popular planners come from Japan, but most of my clients are using a planner for the first time. So people know what a journal is, but the number one thing I hear from people when they start using Halo is I have so much control. Like they take back the control from being reactive to what comes at them, and they become proactive in what they are doing. So Halo really has 3 streams. The first stream, and probably the earliest relief, is the task management stream. So, I mean, we were talking earlier, part of the reason, people stay out late at night because they're like, oh, I have to respond to this email, or I have to do this, I have to do that. I think the number one thing I tell people when they start planning is no matter what you do, no matter how good your system is, you are never going to do it all. So you have to realize that you need to make an active choice on which things you will do and which things you will let go of. And Halo allows you to see all the things and then move the things that you want to do or you need to do or urgent, time sensitive. You move those to a place where you see them clearly. And also there's a very clear check the box. And so you can know that they're done and you can have that confidence. You're not constantly thinking, oh my gosh, what were all those things I needed to do? Because usually, I mean, I don't know, in your head right now, you're probably like, oh my gosh, I have to book those flights. Oh my gosh, I have to do that permission slip. Oh my gosh, I have to respond to that text message from that friend. I mean, there's just so many things that are going on in our heads all the time. People who say that they have a digital system, like almost always don't. There are people who do. Actually, my best friend, who's a doctor at a big hospital, is super organized, and she has an amazing digital system that really works for her. And she and I sat down, when I was launching Halo, and she was like, okay, what's in Halo? How do you do it? What do you use? And she was like, okay, well, I do this for that. And I use this for that. So if you have a great system and feel super confident about your task management, your time management, and your goal setting, then maybe you don't need to make a switch, but most people are starting from zero. And Halo is this absolute relief for them.
Totally makes sense. Yeah. Most people don't really put it all together, right? Obviously, there's task list, but then you kind of lose track of goals, right?
The other problem with the task list is it doesn't include any sort of prioritization. So you may say, get gas for my car with write my 5-year plan for work. That's all in the same plan. And the other problem is a lot of digital tools, maybe cover work only, but we're whole people. And particularly for working parents, we have a bunch of stuff for our kids, a bunch of stuff for their school, their activities, their summer holidays. And we have all our work stuff going on. Plus we want to have a social life. Plus you need to go to the gym. I mean, the list is kind of endless. And so Halo has really good systems for prioritizing what has to happen. And it doesn't differentiate between work and personal. So I'm Rebecca. Today, I have to do 3 work things and 3 personal things. And switching from one system, maybe that's digital, to one system that's paper or a different digital tool actually doesn't help me because I'm one person. We're integrated. We live integrated lives. And having 2 totally separate systems actually has to make us work harder cognitively because you're kind of like, oh, wait, what's that on my work to-do list? Did I do it all? Oh, wait, what's that on my personal to-do list?
Totally. Yeah, it does get confusing. And calendars, like, oh my God, I forgot this thing.
Yeah,
so
and most people, they look at their phone and they have their calendar, because I'm a board director, is my day job. I have 3, 4 different email addresses, 4 different calendars. I have people putting, calls in my calendar. that I don't even know what they are. I have birthdays from people I don't speak to anymore. I have a calendar for each child. I have a shared family calendar. You look at your phone and it doesn't necessarily reflect what you are doing with your time, especially for working mothers. What they say is, actually, I get so much done, but nothing for me. And, you get your work stuff done, you get your family stuff done, but you actually leave out any kind of self-care. The other problem with phone views is you can't see the blank space. So where is the time that you're going to get your work done? I mean, we talked about a lot of people do it after their kids go to bed. They're trying to get their work done. But, you may have more time during the day. You just can't see it. And so you default to answering messages or responding when actually that 2-hour gap could have been used for something more productive.
Right. That's true. And speaking of like balancing, right? You're a mom of 2 and there's lots of things going on. You have your day job, your planner, and you want to fit in your own things, obviously. So how do you re-energize or keep it balanced?
So I've never really believed in work-life balance. I feel like it sets us up for failure, because you're never 100% balanced. And, when your kid is sick, you're totally unbalanced in one way. And when there's a deal to close, you're totally unbalanced in another way. So I feel like balance also misses out on time horizon. So in one given day, I'm not going to tick all the boxes I need for a, high impact life, because you can't do everything in one day. If you think about in a day, what you can do is very different than in a week, a month, a quarter, and a year. So the whole Halo method is built around planning things that really matter to you to make sure that at some point you get that need met. And so in this season, I've really designed my life around 3 priorities. The first is being present for my children. They're 6 and 8 years old. They're only going to be this age for so long. I live in fear of the teenage years when they don't want to hang out with me anymore. And so it really matters to me that I have lots of quality time with my children. The second is, as I've seen my parents get older and some of the things they struggle with, improving and optimizing my physical, mental, and emotional health so that I can keep doing the things I love to do in my later years is my number 2 priority. And my last priority is, doing really great intellectually stimulating work in which I am able to help and inspire other people. So those are my 3 priorities, and that doesn't leave room for much else. And so even though I hate to say no to things, I hate disappointing people, part of my problem and why I need a Halo planner is there's so many things I love to do. I want to do them all the time. And so I find myself, previously I would be constantly switching. Actually, it doesn't help you feel more balanced to be constantly moving from one activity to another. So it does mean I've had to learn how to say no a lot to things that aren't my current priority. So on a daily basis, the bottom of what I designed as the self-care pyramid is I do 45 minutes of exercise every day. I try to be outside. Sometimes that's a hard run and sometimes that's an easy, gentle yoga, but I exercise every day. I drink 3 liters of water every day. I basically, if I didn't track that, I would just drink coffee all the time. So I try to drink 1 liter of water before breakfast, 1 liter of water between breakfast and lunch, and 1 liter of water between lunch and dinner. And then I do 10 minutes of mindfulness. Sometimes that's meditation, sometimes that's reading, but I need 10 minutes to kind of just be in the present. And then I follow a high protein, low carb diet, and I try to sleep 8 hours every night. I know that sounds pretty boring, but it gives me the energy to do the things that I want to do in my life. Yeah, I try to be structured because the truth is that, I'm 45 years old. I know what works for me now. And yes, you can deviate from that sometimes, but if you're deviating more than you're doing it, you're actually not getting the benefit. I've designed my days around those habits, and the Halo Planner has a daily habits checklist. So I kind of have it open on my desk. I'll be working and I'm like, oh, shoot, I need to drink that water. Or like, oh, I need to, I have a routine where I read in the morning. So I've done my reading before I start work. Like that's not really enough to feel re-energized. So on a weekly basis, I have 4 habits that I do. So I have 1 rest day where I don't work, I don't plan, and I do a digital detox. So I turn off my phone, like power off for 12 to 24 hours. And there's probably no other habit that makes me feel more relaxed than turning my phone off. When I tell people about that, they're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing that you can do that. I could never do it. I mean, you can. You really can. Maybe, it's scary to think of 12 hours. I do 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then sometimes I'm just enjoying my life so much without my phone that I leave it till the next morning. Try half a day. The constant need to check is like an anxiety that we have. I'll turn my phone off and then try to check it multiple times. I'm like, oh yeah, it's off. I'm not checking my phone. And then my brain can relax.
Oh, that's true. Completely turn it off. Yeah, right.
Completely turn it off. If you've never done it, I really highly encourage you to do it. And then every week I try to get some meaningful social connection. So for me, that's date night. I mean, with 2 working careers and 2 kids, if we don't prioritize that, it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I also take time for spiritual renewal. So for me, that's going to church, but I mean, it could be yoga, it could be a walk in the woods, it could be meditation, but like something to take you out of the day to day to reflect on what really matters. And then I take an hour each week to plan my upcoming week, all my tasks, meal plans, check the kids' newsletters. It's all concentrated into 1 hour so that I just feel like I do it on Saturday mornings and then I can just step away. The rest of my weekend, I can be free. I don't have to worry about, what's all the things I need to do.
Nice.
And then on a monthly basis, I plan 1 adventure, 1 indulgence, and 1 reflection. So an adventure can be anything that takes you out of your day to day. So it could be a trip if you're going on a trip. It could be, going to have lunch in a new neighborhood, trying a new activity. I mean, literally anything that feels adventurous to you. Everyone's going to be different. Re-energizing for just doing the thing you want to do despite your to-do list, which never goes away, by the way. Yeah. And then I try to reflect once a month, taking that time out, then for the next month, you kind of have your intention and you can move forward. That's a long list of things I do to re-energize. But like I said, over the years, I found what works for me. Yeah. And Halo is built around these kind of daily, weekly, monthly rhythms. And that way, you don't have to sit at your desk and saying, oh, if only I could do that trip, or I really want to do that thing. You can be totally focused on your work, knowing that you've planned all the things you really want to do.
Yeah, no, it sounds great. I mean, it sounds like a very good process and something that you built over the years. And now you're really just kind of putting it all together and living it. So that's amazing.
Trying to. It's not perfect. Like what you need changes over time. Like what I really need now is different than what I needed 5 years ago. And it's different than what I'll need in 5 years. So
yeah, no, that's true. And I do want to go back. And you mentioned, of course, your day job as a board director, and you've done a few different roles over the years. We can talk a little bit about what it means to be a board director. How does one get there if someone's aspired to do that as well?
So I currently serve on 2 corporate boards and 2 NGO boards. For people who don't know, the board is a group of people who serve as the governing body at the top of the organization. So it's been an amazing experience, partly because only the hardest problems that no one else can solve come to the board, or the most important pressing problems. And the other great thing about board work is that you get this really broad set of challenges and issues to deal with, which I love. I think the first thing I would advise people is you need to learn what board work is before you assume you want it. I think people want it because it seems prestigious or powerful, but actually don't assume you know what board work is. It's really different than executive work. And my advice to people, I've made a different decision for a variety of reasons, but if you're in a great executive career, don't make the switch too early. The best way, if you're working as an executive full-time, the best thing to do is work with your corporate board. So if that means putting your hand up for a project in which the board is approving or reviewing, be in the boardroom for board discussions to see what they're talking about. It gives you a window into what boards care about, what they ask, and also the breadth of really interest of the board. So if you're an executive and wanting to be on boards, try to put yourself in situations where you can get exposure to your corporate board. Another great thing to do is serve on the board of a nonprofit. Pick an organization you care about, get to know it really well, volunteer, and put yourself in a position where you can serve on a board, even if it takes a couple of years. My experience is nonprofit board work is as challenging as corporate board work, and many of the topics like financial oversight and governance are similar to the for-profit board world. The next thing is to get to know senior executives at organizations that you admire. Most of my board roles have come from corporate introductions, not from search firms. Some get some mandates, but really often it's the CEO or the chairman who knows a person who might fill a gap in the board. I think patience is really important. Don't get discouraged. Just keep doing work that is really helpful for, board experience.
Sounds amazing. Yeah, I mean, it's completely new to me to kind of understand what it means to be on board. And as you said, I guess it's a unit. So it really depends on the skill set that's missing at the time.
You could be a great finance person, but if they have, 4 out of 8 directors have a finance background,
Right.
you're just not relevant for that search, right? Because they may be looking for an HR expert or they may be looking for a technology expert. I think the other thing is what I miss, and I get it in Halo a little bit, but what I miss about in board work that I miss from my executive career is you can't drive anything. I mean, you really are an advisor, you give oversight, but you can't drive the results of the business at all. So you kind of miss that part of the corporate life.
Right. The execution part. It's really kind of
The execution part. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Now, is that something you want to continue to keep doing as well in parallel, or how do you see?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I love it now. I mean, I really love my companies. You get to know your management team, because the board owns the strategy, you're really invested in seeing through, the initiatives you've been working on. I love my board work. It's just a ton of work. I mean, for one of my boards, we meet twice a month. Yeah. So I hope to continue. I think a lot of people say once you have your first board, then it's easy. It's to find others. That has not been my experience. I've had to work for every single role I've had.
Right.
And, it still takes a really long time, even when you're an established board director. So I'd very much like to continue to serve in that capacity. And it also will depend on Halo, right? I mean, there's so much opportunity in running this new business and you only have so many hours in the day. So let's see.
And with that, what are the next steps for a Halo planner?
Yeah, in my career, I've never had so many people tell me this changed my life. We talked about a lot of my insecurity in launching the business and kind of putting it out there. And one of the things that's really changed is I have heard testimonials from clients who can't live without it. They bring it everywhere. They say it's their kind of lifeblood. And I just want to offer that solution to more and more people. We're getting ready for Halo launch 2026. Pre-sales begin on the 15th of August. So I'm really excited to welcome a whole new cohort of clients who want to get organized and achieve their goals. I'm doing a number of online and in-person events. So I have an intro to the Halo Planner webinar on the 20th of August at 8 a.m. Hong Kong time.
Awesome.
I have a time management for working parents on the 17th of September at 8 a.m. And in the fourth quarter, I'll be hosting a goal achievement and time management for board members and senior advisors, as well as a 3Q review. So looking back at third quarter. And then in early January, I'll run a in-person plan your year seminar. So if people are interested in those type of events, they can go on Halo Instagram or on the website. They can sign up for the newsletter to be kept abreast of all the events.
Amazing. That sounds great. I'm going to join some of them.
Yeah, you should.
Yes.
I've started to because people want more. Like people who love Halo. A lot of people have asked, I feel like I'm only getting 10% of my Halo. I want to maximize my efficiency because I think once they feel the difference it's made in their life, they want more of that. People find the relief in the task management. And then they once they realize that they have to choose which tasks to do, they get a handle on their tasks. Then they move on to time management, like how am I spending my time, which then leads into goal achievement. Because if you can manage your tasks and manage your time, then you can choose which goals you want to achieve.
Amazing. As you said, like someone just buys it will feel like, oh, I'm only, probably using 10, 20% of the intended efficiency. So it's great that if you talk about it, it's like, oh yeah, I could do this, or that's what it's supposed to be. Then I think definitely will help someone else kind of rethink how they use your product and restructure as well. So that totally makes sense.
Yeah. I designed it to be flexible. So just because it's the way I use it doesn't mean it's the way everybody else should use it. Number one. Number two, like it's all about progress, not perfection. I would just encourage you to let go of your perfectionism when it comes to planning. This is a tool that's meant to help you. It's not like an art product that's supposed to look beautiful at the end. I mean, I tell you, after 3 months, I'm so glad to see the back of my halo because it's filled with all this stuff that I'm never going to do, or, notes or drawings, and you just get a fresh start. That's another great thing about using a paper tool rather than a digital tool. Digital, unless you actively delete it, it never goes away. Whereas paper, you just move on to the next book. So you don't even have to just let it all go.
Archive it, right?
Yeah,
It will
just put it
become
on the
artwork.
shelf. Think about it in 20 years. But you also have the security of always knowing where it is. If you have, in your 3Q 2025 Halo, you have a business plan that you put together. Maybe you're not going to execute that now, but in 2 years' time, you know exactly where it is.
So cool. We've got a lot of insights throughout the talk. Any other advice you want to leave with our listeners?
Ooh, advice. My biggest piece of advice is if you're listening to this, if you feel overwhelmed, feel distracted and exhausted, do not think that there's no solution. Managing your tasks and time and goals is achievable. And once you set up your system, you really can take back control of your life. Don't feel like the mess has to stay forever.
Cool. That's always good to know. And lastly, what is your main attribute that make you the powerhouse?
It's not me. It's my husband, Damien, because he's been the one who always encourages me in my career. And he talks me back from the edge of my mental breakdown. Right before I was about to launch Halo last year, I was in tears being like, this is so stupid. Why am I doing this? And he was like, it's not stupid. You have to do it. He's a great co-parent, and having the right partnership and structure at home really allows me to do what I do. So I would say, and he's probably sold more Halo planners than I have. He's my biggest fan, knowing that, the person that you share a life with is, supportive and enthusiastic about what you're doing in your career makes a huge difference. So I said that it was Damien. Of course, we all have our own things, but having the right partner can help a lot.
Oh, that's so sweet and so amazing to hear that. I did say that was last, but really the last one is just a one fun fact about yourself.
So for a while, I took flying lessons in Hong Kong. So I flew a Cessna 152 and a Cessna 172. And I spent, before I had kids, I would spend most weekends flying around Hong Kong. And I've flown in Alaska and Namibia and Boston. Yeah, I loved it because I really experienced that flow. You're totally not thinking about anything other than what you're doing when you're flying an airplane.
Amazing. Hi, Mary.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it was a pleasure.